Lisa walked out. Not a dramatic pause, not a threat. She grabbed her bag and left Daniel sitting there with his mouth open and his excuses half-formed. The cameras caught everything. The confusion on his face, the shock from producers scrambling to follow her, the exact moment she decided she was done being disrespected on international television. What pushed her to that breaking point? The answer is worse than you think. Hey, I'm Zara from Sister Wives Daily, and if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now, because this season is giving us drama we need to talk about together. Drop a comment telling me if you think Lisa should have walked out sooner, or if she gave Daniel too many chances. Let's get into this. Rewind 12 hours. Lisa thought she was going on a nice date with the man she traveled across the world to meet. She got dressed up, did her makeup, probably gave herself a pep talk in the mirror about giving this relationship a real shot despite the red flags already waving in her peripheral vision. Daniel picked the location. Daniel set the tone. And Daniel, allegedly without any self-awareness, decided this was the perfect time to critique how she walks. Yes, you heard that right. Her walking. Not her personality, not her sense of humor, not even something subjective like her taste in music. The physical act of putting one foot in front of the other. He told her she walks too fast, that she needs to slow down, that the way she moves through the world needs to match his pace, his preference, his comfort level. Lisa laughed it off at first because what else do you do when someone says something so absurd you assume it's a joke? But Daniel wasn't joking. He doubled down, explained in that calm, condescending tone that makes your blood pressure spike that he's just trying to help her. That walking slower would be better. For who, Daniel? Better for who exactly? Lisa's face went from amused to confused to something harder, something that looked like recognition. The recognition that this wasn't about walking at all. This walking comment was just the appetizer for what his family had planned, and trust me, you are not ready for what they asked her at dinner. Because later that same day, Daniel took Lisa to meet his family. She walked into that house, again trying to make a good impression, again hoping that maybe the relationship could find solid ground. His family smiled, offered her food, asked polite questions about her flight and her life back home. Standard, meet the family stuff. Lisa started to relax. Big mistake. Then the questions shifted. Started innocent enough, asking about her past relationships, her views on marriage. Normal family vetting, right? But then, someone, and the cameras caught this clear as day, asked Lisa about her sexuality. Not in a supportive, getting-to-know-you way. In an interrogation way. Are you sure you like men? Have you been with women? Why aren't you married yet? Is it because you prefer women? Lisa's face froze. You could see her brain trying to process what was happening, trying to figure out if she misheard, if this was some cultural difference she wasn't understanding. But no, they kept going, kept pressing, kept demanding she justify her sexual orientation to people she met 3 hours ago. And Daniel? Daniel sat there, silent, not defending her, not redirecting the conversation, not standing up and saying this is inappropriate and we're leaving. He sat there and let his family grill the woman he supposedly loves about her sexuality like she was on trial. Lisa answered calmly at first, trying to be respectful, trying not to cause a scene. But you could see something breaking behind her eyes. The hope, maybe. The benefit of the doubt she'd been extending since she landed in his country. The dinner kept going. More invasive questions. More uncomfortable silences from Daniel. More of Lisa being treated like she needed to prove herself worthy of basic human decency. She excused herself to the bathroom at one point, and the cameras stayed on Daniel's family, who didn't seem to think anything they said was out of line. They laughed, ate, carried on like they hadn't just violated every boundary of appropriate conversation. When Lisa came back to the table, she was quieter, shorter answers. Her body language screamed discomfort, but nobody seemed to notice or care. Daniel finally spoke up, but not to defend her, to ask if she wanted more food. Food. Like carbs would fix the damage his family just did. That dinner ended eventually. Lisa and Daniel left together, drove back in painful silence, and she thought maybe, possibly, he would apologize once they were alone. Maybe he'd explain that his family was out of line, and he froze, but he knows it was wrong. Instead, Daniel wanted to talk about their physical relationship, about why they haven't been intimate yet, about her holding back. Are you starting to see the pattern here? The family dinner didn't just happen. Daniel set it up, told Lisa it was important, made it sound like this casual meet and greet would help them move forward. She agreed because turning down a family meeting looks bad on camera and in real life. She wore something nice, but not too flashy, practiced conversation topics in her head, probably reminded herself to smile and nod even if the food was weird or the questions got personal. She had no idea personal was about to become invasive. They arrived at his family's home, and the setup felt warm at first. Hugs at the door, compliments on her outfit, the kind of surface-level pleasantries that make you think, maybe this will go okay. Daniel's mom gestured to the table already loaded with food. His siblings asked about her job, her hobbies, normal stuff. Lisa started answering with actual enthusiasm, grateful the conversation felt human. She talked about her friends back home, her neighborhood, what she missed most about American coffee. Everyone laughed. The tension in her shoulders eased up. Then Daniel's aunt, sitting at the far end of the table, asked how many serious relationships Lisa had before this one. Reasonable question, slightly nosy, but still within bounds. Lisa gave a vague answer, 2 or 3 depending on how you define serious, kept it light. The aunt nodded, took a sip of her drink, then asked why none of them worked out. Lisa explained compatibility issues, different life goals, the usual breakup reasons people give when they don't want to trash their exes on television. But what his aunt asked next made every producer in that room hold their breath, and you need to hear exactly how she said it. The aunt leaned forward, looked Lisa directly in the eyes, and asked if she'd ever dated women. Not as a curious aside, not with any warmth or openness, with suspicion. Lisa blinked, laughed nervously, said no, asked why that mattered. The aunt didn't back down. She said Lisa seemed uncomfortable around Daniel, that she didn't act affectionate enough, that maybe she wasn't attracted to men at all and was using the show to hide it. The table went silent. Forks stopped moving. Daniel's brother looked at his plate. His mom glanced at Daniel, waiting for him to say something. Daniel said nothing. Lisa's smile disappeared. She sat up straighter, put her hands in her lap, and you could see her deciding in real time how to respond. She could yell, she could leave, she could cry, she could defend herself calmly. She chose calm, which honestly showed more self-control than most people would have in that moment. She said her sexuality wasn't up for debate, that she came here to build a relationship with Daniel, and that these questions crossed a line. Her voice stayed even, but her hands were shaking. The aunt wasn't done. She asked if Lisa was sure because in her experience, women who take things slow physically are usually not interested in men. She said it like a fact, like decades of homophobic assumptions gave her some kind of authority. Lisa looked at Daniel again, a clear plea for backup, for him to tell his aunt to stop. He looked at his food, moved rice around his plate, stayed silent while his family dissected the woman he brought into their home. His sister jumped in next, asking if Lisa had ever been confused about her attraction, if she'd ever questioned herself, if maybe the reason she wasn't married yet was because she'd been looking at the wrong gender. 3 people now, tag-teaming her with questions designed to make her prove something she didn't owe them. Lisa's calm started cracking. She asked Daniel directly, in front of everyone, if he was going to say anything. He mumbled that his family just wanted to understand her. Understand her? They wanted to humiliate her. She answered a few more questions, each one more degrading than the last. Because what else do you do when you're alone in a foreign country, surrounded by cameras and hostile strangers? You survive the moment and process the damage later. Lisa explained she was attracted to men, specifically to Daniel, that her past relationships with men were real and valid, that taking physical intimacy slow had nothing to do with her orientation and everything to do with wanting emotional connection first. Reasonable, right? His family exchange looks like she just confessed to something suspicious. The dinner dragged on another 40 minutes. Lighter topics came up, but the damage was done. Lisa barely ate, answered questions in 1 or 2 words, checked the time on her phone twice. Daniel tried to hold her hand under the table at one point, and she pulled away. Not dramatically, just moved her hand to her lap, but the cameras caught it, and so did his mom, whose expression went from concerned to annoyed. When they finally left, Lisa didn't say goodbye to anyone, except a quiet thank you for the meal directed at no one in particular. She walked to the car faster than Daniel, forgot he told her to slow down earlier, or maybe didn't forget at all. The drive back was silent except for Daniel asking if she had fun. Fun. She stared out the window and didn't answer. They got back to his place, and Lisa headed straight for the bedroom, probably wanting space to decompress and figure out if this relationship was salvageable. Daniel followed her, closed the door behind them. And instead of apologizing for his family, instead of acknowledging what just happened, he asked why they hadn't been intimate yet. Why she kept pulling away. If she was even attracted to him. The same questions his family just spent an hour asking, now coming from him too. Lisa's face went from hurt to done, and that's when everything fell apart. This wasn't the first time Daniel tried to control Lisa. Go back and watch earlier episodes with this new context, and you'll see the pattern was there from day one. When she first arrived at the airport, he criticized her luggage, said she packed too much, made a comment about American women not knowing how to travel light. She laughed it off. When they went to dinner that first night, he ordered for her without asking what she wanted, then acted confused when she said she didn't eat meat. He told her she should try it anyway, that she was in his country now and needed to adapt. Adapt. That word keeps coming up with Daniel. Lisa needs to adapt her walking speed, her eating habits, her comfort level with his family's interrogation, her timeline for physical intimacy. Everything about her needs to change to fit his vision while he adapts nothing. Zero compromise flows in her direction. She's expected to mold herself smaller and quieter and more convenient, while he stays exactly as controlling as he wants to be. The walking comment wasn't about walking. The sexuality questions weren't really about sexuality. The pressure about intimacy wasn't about physical connection. All of it was about control, about testing how much Lisa would tolerate, how far she could be pushed before she pushed back. Controlling people don't start with huge demands because that scares people away too quickly. They start small. Criticize something minor like how you walk or what you pack. See if you defend yourself or apologize. If you apologize, they know they can go further. And Daniel's next move proved he'd been studying Lisa's breaking point this whole time, waiting for the perfect moment to push her past it. Think about the interrogation scene again, but from a manipulation angle. His family didn't come up with those questions on their own the night Lisa walked in. Someone prepped them. Someone told them Lisa was holding back physically, that she seemed distant, that maybe her attraction wasn't real. Who had access to that information? Who spent every day with Lisa and knew exactly what insecurities to weaponize? Daniel fed his family ammunition and then sat back while they fired it at her. When she looked to him for support, his silence was the answer. He wanted her to feel alone, unsupported, desperate for him to step in so she'd be grateful when he finally did. Except he never did. He let the damage happen and then used it as leverage later when he asked why she wasn't being intimate with him. Classic control tactic. Create the problem, then blame the victim for the symptoms. Look at his pattern with past relationships based on what he's mentioned on camera. His ex-girlfriend left because she felt suffocated. His ex before that said he was too demanding. Daniel frames these stories like his exes were the problem, like they couldn't handle a real relationship, but listen to what he's actually describing. Women keep leaving him for the same reason. He mistakes control for care and then acts blindsided when they walk away. Lisa started seeing it. You could track her awareness growing episode by episode. The first time he criticized her, she smiled. The second time, she looked confused. The third time, she went quiet. By the family dinner, she was keeping score. Noticing how often he spoke over her, how he never asked her opinion before making plans, how his version of compromise meant she gave up what she wanted and he gave up nothing. The intimacy conversation was his biggest miscalculation. He thought if he applied enough pressure, made her feel defective or broken for wanting to wait, she'd give in just to prove she was attracted to him. He didn't account for the possibility that she was holding back because she saw who he really was, that her hesitation wasn't about attraction, but about self-preservation. You don't get physically vulnerable with someone who treats your boundaries like inconveniences. Daniel's whole approach banks on Lisa doubting herself more than she doubts him. As long as she's questioning if she's too sensitive, too cold, too difficult, she stays. The second she starts questioning his behavior instead of her reactions, the power shifts. That shift happens somewhere between his family asking about her sexuality and him asking why she won't sleep with him. She stopped wondering if she was the problem and started knowing he was. His response when she tried to address the family dinner told you everything. He said they were just concerned, that she was overreacting, that if she really loved him, she'd understand they were trying to protect him. Protect him from what? From a woman who wants basic respect? He flipped the script so fast, made himself the victim of her boundaries, acted wounded that she didn't appreciate his family's invasive cruelty. That's when Lisa went quiet in a different way. Not confused quiet or hurt quiet. Decided quiet. She stopped arguing, stopped explaining, stopped trying to make him see her perspective. She answered his questions with yes or no, didn't elaborate, started creating emotional distance before the physical distance came. Daniel noticed but misread it as her coming around, softening up, getting ready to give him what he wanted. He had no idea she was already planning her exit, just waiting for one more push to justify it. And that push was coming in less than 24 hours. The next morning started tense. Lisa woke up in the same room as Daniel, but they might as well have been on different continents emotionally. She got ready quietly, didn't make eye contact, gave one-word answers when he asked about breakfast. He sensed something was off, but did what controlling people do when they feel their grip slipping. He doubled down. Started making plans for their day without asking her input, told her what time they'd leave, what she should wear, how the schedule would go. Lisa sat on the edge of the bed and asked a simple question. Do you even want to know what I want to do today? Daniel looked genuinely confused, like the concept of her having preferences separate from his hadn't occurred to him. He said he was planning their day to make things easier for her, that she didn't know the area so obviously he should decide. She asked again, slower this time. Do you want to know what I want? He deflected, said they could talk about it in the car, that they needed to get going or they'd be late. Late for what? She asked. He didn't have an answer, just kept insisting they needed to leave. Lisa stood up, walked to her suitcase, and started packing. Not frantically, not emotionally, methodically. Folding shirts, rolling jeans, organizing toiletries. Daniel watched for a full minute before asking what she was doing. Leaving, she said. Just that one word. No explanation, no argument, no door left open for negotiation. Daniel's face went through 5 stages of panic. He asked where she'd go, told her she was overreacting, said they just needed to talk this through. Lisa kept packing. He tried touching her arm to stop her, and she stepped away, still calm, still focused on getting her things together. That step back broke something in his composure. The producers tried to intervene, asking Lisa if she'd do an interview first, and her answer made everyone realize she wasn't bluffing this time. She said no. Said she'd talk when she was ready, but right now she needed to leave before she said something she'd regret. The cameras followed her anyway, because that's their job, but you could tell even the crew felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't manufactured drama or a temporary fight blown up for ratings. This was a woman protecting herself in real time, choosing her dignity over a relationship that cost too much. Daniel followed her outside, still talking, still explaining, still refusing to acknowledge what he'd done. He told her his family liked her, that the dinner went well, that she was being too sensitive about some innocent questions. Innocent. That word made Lisa stop walking. She turned around and asked him to repeat what he just said. He stammered, tried to backtrack, but she cut him off. Told him if he really thought those questions were innocent, then he proved exactly why she needed to leave. She got in the car the producers arranged. Daniel stood in the driveway looking lost, like his script just vanished, and he didn't know what to do without lines to follow. He called her phone twice before she even left the property. She didn't answer. The car pulled away and the cameras caught her face in the window. Not crying, not angry, relieved. Social media exploded within hours. Fans divided into camps immediately. Team Lisa flooded comments saying she should have left sooner, that Daniel showed who he was from episode 1, that his controlling behavior and his family's interrogation were unacceptable. They posted screenshots of his worst moments, broke down his manipulation tactics, celebrated Lisa for choosing herself. Team Daniel came out too, smaller but vocal. They said Lisa was cold, that she came on the show for fame and never intended to make the relationship work, that Daniel's family had every right to ask questions about someone joining their family. Some even said the sexuality questions were valid concerns given how Lisa wouldn't be intimate with him. The victim blaming was Olympic level. Lisa stayed quiet online for 3 days. No posts, no stories, no statements. Her silence made people more invested, checking her accounts hourly for updates. Daniel posted twice, vague quotes about heartbreak and trying your best, deleted both within hours when the comments ripped him apart. Then, Lisa finally posted. 1 photo, 1 caption. And what she said made everyone question everything they thought they knew about what happened after she left. This isn't the first time 90 Day Fiancé gave us a controlling partner who mistaked dominance for devotion. Remember Big Ed and Rose? He criticized everything about her life, her home, her hygiene, then acted shocked when she had enough. Remember Andrew and Amira? He left her stranded in Mexico, blamed her for not trying hard enough, painted himself as the victim when she refused to keep hurting herself for him. The pattern repeats because the show attracts people who think love means ownership. What separates Lisa from some others who stayed too long is her willingness to trust her gut over her investment. She flew across the world, spent money, exposed her life on camera, built hope around this relationship. Walking away meant admitting all of that was wasted. But she did it anyway, because staying would waste something more valuable. Her peace. Her self-respect. Her safety. Control doesn't always look like yelling or physical aggression. Sometimes it looks like Daniel, polite on the surface, reasonable tone, just trying to help. But help that only flows one direction isn't help. It's management. When someone constantly corrects you, questions your choices, undermines your judgment, then acts hurt when you notice, that's control. When their family interrogates you and they stay silent, that's control. When they pressure you physically after watching you get emotionally violated, that's control. The tactics Lisa experienced are textbook patterns anyone watching needs to recognize before they're in too deep to see clearly. Pay attention to how your partner responds when you set boundaries. Healthy people might feel disappointed, but they respect the line. Controlling people treat boundaries like insults, like you're rejecting them instead of protecting yourself. Daniel didn't ask why Lisa needed space or time, he asked why she was making things difficult. He centered his feelings about her boundary instead of respecting the boundary itself. Now here's the fair counterpoint, because one-sided stories rarely tell the whole truth. Daniel might genuinely not understand what he did wrong. If he grew up watching men control women and call it love, if his culture taught him that leadership means making all decisions, if nobody ever modeled healthy partnership for him, then his behavior makes sense even though it's still unacceptable. Understanding why someone hurts you doesn't mean accepting the hurt. Maybe Daniel does care about Lisa in his limited understanding of what care looks like. Maybe he thought involving his family showed how serious he was. Maybe he pressured her about intimacy because he interpreted her hesitation as rejection instead of self-protection. His intentions don't erase the impact, but they do remind us that people can cause real damage without twirling a villain mustache. Lisa's strength wasn't just in leaving. It was in leaving before she convinced herself to stay. Before she made excuses for him. Before she blamed herself. Before she invested so much time that walking away felt harder than enduring. She saw the pattern early, and she trusted what she saw. That takes wisdom most people don't develop until after they've already stayed too long somewhere they should have left. She didn't need to wait for him to hit her or scream at her or cheat on her to justify leaving. The disrespect was enough. The control was enough. The silence while his family attacked her was enough. She didn't need his behavior to get worse to earn her exit. It was already bad enough. What she posted after 3 days of silence was a photo of herself smiling at the airport with a caption that said sometimes the best thing you can do is save yourself. No mention of Daniel, no dragging his family, no detailed explanation. Just a boundary that said this chapter is closed and I'm not relitigating it for your entertainment. But the story didn't end at the airport. Because what happened when Lisa got back home and Daniel's messages started coming through made the family dinner look tame. The manipulation shifted from in-person to digital, and honestly, watching someone try to control you through a screen when you're thousands of miles away hits different. His desperation showed sides of him the cameras never caught, and one particular voice message he left her leaked online. Which brings us to the next mess we need to unpack.